Hello, Red Wave. Welcome to Beware Bulldogs podcast. We are the Calebs, and this is the official fan podcast of Fresno State Athletics. Today, joining us is Isaac from AggieUp podcast. He is going to get us in the know for Fresno State versus Utah State. We're going to ask him some questions, and hopefully we feel a little bit more educated on this Aggie team. And I also want to know, we'll get to it, but why they are called Aggies in Utah. But we'll get there. Isaac, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We made him sit through half of our preview, so thank you for.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks, guys. No, it's great to be with you. So
now tell us about AggieUp and what you do with that.
Yeah, so AggieUp, basically I started as just kind of a Twitter account. Actually, I think it was like a message board first name. And then, but I really kind of focused on recruiting. And then Matt Wells, who was the coach at the time, he started sending out these AggieUp tweets when somebody would commit. And I'm like, okay, let's we're gonna kind of ride this little wave of momentum or whatever you want to call it, because I was already following recruiting and I knew some people in the industry. I went to high school games, all that kind of stuff, and really kind of jumped in full board with a Twitter account, and actually ended up being the Utah State site for Scout, and then later 24/7 Sports. So I've done some of that media side, and then kind of my own thing as well. And so that's kind of the long story short of it. But it's been a great ride to, and it's been interesting to see on the media side, because as a fan and as somebody who has a Twitter account or follows the team or is just a fan, you think, oh, that looks so easy to do a podcast. Oh, it looks so easy to break news and write stories and whatever else, and it's not. It's not so easy. It's not so simple as some people think it is. So that's my takeaway, at least. So
Oh yeah, we're constantly learning.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, this has been, we were talking before that, we're shocked that we're already halfway through the season. So, I mean, the football season's flying by. So obviously, a bit of a mixed bag so far for the Aggies at 3-3. So what's the overall feeling, around the, Utah State Aggie program?
Yeah, I think as most years go, this team has been a roller coaster. This year has been a roller coaster. The last few years have been a roller coaster. Last year was mostly down as far as the roller coaster goes, and this start to the season was a little bit up and down. And I think some people were excited about the Iowa game, keeping it close and everything. But the last couple of years have definitely been a roller coaster. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. Blake Anderson came in his first year, won a Mountain West championship, and everybody was obviously on the highest high, because that had never happened before. Utah State had been to the Mountain West championship game against Fresno State, some different good years and bowl games and different things, and had Gary Anderson as their coach. They had some good seasons and some good momentum going. And Matt Wells did a good job, and national rankings and some different things. But in general, it's kind of been a roller coaster. It's kind of been up and down, and the highs have been great. And I think most Aggie fans are alums or locals that love the university, and we're going to ride that roller coaster no matter what. But it's definitely a roller coaster. That's part of being an Aggie fan, and is riding that roller coaster. So I think Aggie fans are used to it to a certain extent, but at the same time, I think the Aggie fans were a little bit worried about the season until the Aggies have come up with a couple wins here, and beating Colorado State was I personally think is a big turning point in the season to finish strong, because really the Aggies already have Air Force out of the way. Utah State doesn't play Wyoming. They play Boise State at home. They play some, San Jose State is on the road, and they have some road games coming up, but they're not the toughest games. So another turning point would be this Fresno State game. But I think Colorado State game was a big kind of step in the right direction. The Aggies pulled out a miracle win at UConn, which I was actually in person for. I actually saw that and was there, which was a crazy ending. I don't know if you guys saw that, but just to pull out the win at the last second after thinking you lost was typical roller coaster fashion, right? Typical crazy Aggie finish. So we'll see. I think it's must watch TV, and I think Aggie fans realize that. But at the same time, I think it would be great if the university could have a little bit better upward trajectory to keep fans and to keep building on these seasons and wins and different things instead of the roller coaster type of situation that we have going on.
Do you Aggie fans take anxiety pills? Because it's been crazy.
Yeah, it's. I think I don't want to lump Cache Valley and Logan in with every part of Utah, but Utah's definitely has certain. I guess we're known for certain high statistics, so I'm sure we could come up with that one for sure. So we're heavily medicating or something. I don't know what. I don't know how we get through it. We eat a lot of ice cream, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I'll move there. I love ice cream. There's always room for ice cream. Before we get to team strengths and team weaknesses, we got some ads. And speaking of always having room, I always have room for wine. And I do. And Givli Winery is a sponsor of ours. Givli Winery is a local winery out here on Biola Avenue, just north of Shaw. Local wine, local grapes. They grow everything. It's all in-house. They are located on Biola, just north of Shaw, open Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 5, and weekdays by appointment only. This Saturday is their crush party. So there's going to be a trough with grapes in it. Make sure you come on out to Givli Winery. It's going to start around 6, and you can I Love Lucy it in the trough, stomping on grapes. So that's Givli Winery, and you can check them out at givliwinery.com. And Caleb, tell us about Manage X.
Yeah, another great supporter of Beware Bulldogs and Fresno State Athletics, too. It's a full-service property management company in Fresno-Clovis area. They service single-family homes, small multifamily, and office and industrial properties, too. So if you're a landlord here in the Fresno-Clovis area and you're in need of assistance there, definitely go to their website, managex.net, and you can connect with them and see if they can help you with your landlording problems.
All right, Isaac. We watched a little bit of film on you guys, and it seems as though you guys have some very good wide receivers that you like to toss the ball to. You like to spread everybody out, and you'll run it up the gut, and you'll get some chunk yards there. And Laga is a good quarterback who is very capable of making the correct read and making a good throw. But what would you say is the Utah State Aggie strength offensively? And then we'll move to the defense.
Yeah, the strength is definitely not quick starts. So first quarters, don't even expect anything. In the first quarter, they could probably kneel first 3 downs and then punt. Take it to the 25. Don't try to run it out. Don't throw the ball. Don't run the ball. First quarter, just get out of there with no turnovers. Because the first quarters in the last few games have literally been disasters. So that's definitely not a strength. But second, third, and fourth quarters are a strength. The wide receiver core is a strength. Even the running back, they've got a 3-headed monster at running back. They've got a 3-headed monster at wide receiver at least. They had, all 3 guys had over 150 yards or 100 yards, over 100 yards at least. In the last game against Colorado State. So they definitely have the skilled players. They've had some injuries on the offensive line. They've had injuries and kind of some weird, crazy things happen at quarterback as well. I don't know if you guys knew McKay Hillstead took over as the starter as a true freshman, and then he got knocked out of the game against UConn. Cooper had to come back in, who, he's been around for 5 years. So he's been great. He led the Aggies to a win against UConn. Had a great game in the last game. I should say last 3 quarters. Not the full game, but so those are definitely the strengths. Do you want me to talk about the weaknesses of the offense as well, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So the weakness of the offense is probably that offensive line. In general, the offense and defensive lines are probably the weaknesses of the team, whereas the skill guys, the cornerbacks, the safeties, the wide receivers, the running backs are really the strength of the team, which is a huge – that's saying a lot as far as adding guys in the transfer portal, recruiting freshmen and local guys that can come in and step in the last couple of years and develop. Kyle Cephalo as the wide receiver coach is, I think, one of the top wide receiver coaches in the nation. All you have to do is watch some of the guys that made it to the NFL and you can see how well he did, how well he's been coaching those wide receivers the last couple of years. And really, I mean, the Aggies have lost some really good running backs, some really good wide receivers and defensive backs to the transfer portal the last few years, and offensive linemen and defensive linemen. But they've done a really good job of replacing those guys to a certain extent. I think the offensive line and defensive line is just a little bit harder to get somebody as a true freshman or get somebody out of the transfer portal that can step in right away and play well or hold down that starting spot.
Yeah, I think Fresno State's seeing similar issues in the trenches. Fresno State struggled to run the ball and has struggled to get a decent pass rush and pressure from the defensive line. So I think it'll be an interesting matchup to see, who's winning the battle in the trenches there with, a couple position groups that have struggled there this season. So that'll definitely be interesting to watch out for. So how about on the defensive side of the ball? I know that the safety, I think Ike, I can't remember his last name, but he has a couple picks and seems like a pretty decent player. But who else on the defense, or what's maybe the strength on the defense?
So Ike Larson, if you want to keep your eye out on somebody that's going to make big plays, he made the big kick block at the end of the game against UConn, number 6. Ike Larson is a local kid from Cache Valley, from the local area, played high school at Skyview. So he's a guy to watch for sure because he's always making big plays. Number 1 is Switzer, so you definitely want to keep an eye out for him as well. He's a guy that transferred from Arkansas State, actually, sat out last year with an injury and is still has eligibility, luckily, is kind of like a hybrid safety linebacker kind of guy. And with injuries coming in and out, the guy has been a stud at every, linebacker or safety or wherever they put him. He's just one of those guys that is one of the top players that needs to be on the field all the time. So that's another guy, number 1. Keep an eye out for him. He's always doing a celebration. Those two guys love to celebrate anything. So those guys are really, really fun to watch. We have a couple young corners and kind of some inexperience at cornerback, but those guys have stepped up as well. So those defensive backs have been really, really fun to watch this season. Get some picks. It's a big play defense. So I don't think they're going to be able to line up and just stop Fresno State every time. Against Iowa and even against James Madison and some of those teams, even UConn for that matter, they when they wanted to run the ball, they could just kind of run over the Aggie defensive line and run over the Aggie defense and just run right at it. So if Fresno State can do that, that's probably their their benefit this game, and is probably going to be the best way to beat this defense consistently, because eventually those defensive backs and big play guys on defense are usually going to make a big play, get a pick six, get an interception, flip the field, or obviously the offense can make big plays as well. But that's probably the biggest weakness, is just the physical size of the defense.
It's going to be very interesting, because I have talked about one of my keys to the game is I want to see Fresno State establish a running game, because we haven't really seen that this year. So
yeah,
it's going to be an interesting matchup. Oh, where do you see Utah State taking advantage of Fresno State?
Well, I already talked about the slow starts. If they can possibly get up and get a lead on Fresno State, I think they can establish that run. They can, use those three different guys. They even rotate some on the offensive line, and just and hopefully could pound the ball and hold on to the ball, put together some long drives with a lead. But that hasn't been reality so far this season, so I don't know if that is reasonable to expect. For the most part, the Aggies have kind of been pretty dead to start the game, and then have really turned it on and set up those big plays and been able to score some decent amount of points. But a lot of that production is in the second half. So I think Aggies – yeah, I think the Aggies can take advantage of Fresno State's defense eventually. I think if Fresno State was able to come up with some turnovers to start the game, or was able to stop the run, that kind of shuts down those other options and kind of some of their long passes that kind of get opened up with some of the running game. And so that's where I would say, I think Aggie fans are crossing their fingers that at least they can kind of plug away and stay in there until they can break off a big play. It's a big play offense for sure.
Now, is Utah State looking to run the ball first, or are they more pass first?
Well, that's a good question, because they've been a little bit inconsistent. So Blake Anderson took over as the play caller. I think that has been good at times, and I think it's been interesting, like I say, in first quarter sometimes. So I don't know if I would say it's been 100% perfect, right? But I would say in general, I think Blake Anderson is a good play caller. He can figure out what plays are working, how to kind of scheme up or set up certain plays. But those starts of the games have been a challenge. So I would say they want to run the ball first, and I think that's what the Aggies will do on Friday. Is they'll come out and try to establish the run. Their offensive line should be pretty healthy, and their running back should be pretty hungry to get some yardage, and I think that's the game plan that I would personally employ, because once you establish that run, I think that opens up the long passes. The wide receivers have been awesome. The wide receivers have been great on the deep balls, and Cooper Lega has been good throwing those passes when they have been available, when they've been open. So, but I think for sure they've got to start with that running game. They've got to put together a couple drives instead of the 3 and outs that they've had the last few games in the first quarter.
Now, where would you say the Bulldogs can take advantage of Utah State?
I mean, I think the best way that Fresno State can probably take advantage of Utah State is if they're just solid. If they're like in some ways, like James Madison in Iowa, were just a bend but don't break defense. They were solid. They were physical. They didn't make the mistakes that the Utah State did. I think Fresno State, if they came in and they were just the more physical team and they didn't make the mental mistakes or the turnovers and everything, I think Fresno State would be pretty good. I think they'd be set. But if they do come out and make mistakes, get penalties, all that kind of stuff, and Fresno State is the one, making those mistakes, I think that's going to be trouble for Fresno State for sure.
Yeah, it seems like Utah State gets in trouble with the turnovers, like most teams, and they can sometimes come in bunches for the Aggies. And yeah, I was kind of thinking too in terms of the time of possession and just kind of controlling the ball. Typically that's not really Fresno State's identity in terms of just kind of maintaining, hold the ball, if you think like a traditional Air Force team, just kind of going to kill you with a lot of running game. That's not really Fresno State's strength, but I think they're going to have to employ some of that this week just to, maybe slow the game down a little bit because this Fresno State offense I don't think it's quite as explosive as, it used to be, especially, post Jay Kaner. It's, we definitely haven't seen it, at least, following last week's loss to Wyoming. So, yeah, I think that, those are Fresno State's opportunities there.
Yeah, and if Fresno State can't do that, or if that's just not them, this is going to be an exciting game, maybe a high-scoring game, maybe crazy game. I think the Aggie defense is good enough to cause some of those turnovers. So, like I say, if they're not both turning over the ball a bunch and all kind of, it gets a little crazy, then that favors the Aggies. I think if Fresno State is the one not making the turnovers and not making the mistakes, that obviously benefits the Fresno State Bulldogs. So,
well, it's going to be a fun game. I feel like it's either going to be 20-21, and each team's going to have 4 turnovers, or it's going to be 60-50, and each with a shootout.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to make for an exciting game. Before we move on to our game day predictions, I got to tell you about Eastie's Wood Shop. So check out Eastie's Wood Shop for your custom woodworking and home decor needs. Let them bring your ideas to life. You'll let them know what you want. You can check out shopew.store. That's shopew.store to send them a message and for their line of personalized gifts this holiday season. Don't wait. Get it before holiday season comes around and they get busy. Use code BEWARE for 15% off your first purchase. Go to shopew.store and use code BEWARE for 15% off your first purchase. Also, homecoming is coming up. And if you're looking for things to do the week of homecoming, the Fresno State Alumni Association has you covered. Wednesday, the 25th, is the unveiling of Victory Bulldog statue. Thursday night is the homecoming alumni mixer at the Smith Camp Alumni House. Friday night is the homecoming takeover at Crow and Wolf. And Beware of Bulldogs will be there podcasting, so make sure you're there to share your thoughts with us. We'll have an extra mic for you. And Saturday, the 28th, join the alumni tailgate at the Neutral Zone in the White Lot. The White Lot, by the way, is on the west side of the stadium. There's something for everyone the week of homecoming. To learn more or to purchase a homecoming game day bundle, visit alumni.fresnostate.edu/homecoming. That's alumni.fresnostate.edu/homecoming. All right, Isaac, what do you think is going to happen Friday starting at 5 p.m.? Give us a final score, if you may.
Yeah. I'm going to lean towards the crazy high scoring game, like a 42-35. And I feel like I should throw out, like, my podcast is and kind of everything. If nobody's gone to homefieldapparel.com, they got to check it out. And also First Mile Logistics and Primo Golf Apparel. So I just felt left out. That I didn't have enough sponsors. And so this 42-35 prediction brought to you by those 3 companies. And so 42-35 Aggies this Friday. it's going to get a little weird, and Aggies are going to come out on top, probably because, I mean, Fresno State is kind of, I guess Utah State has as well, but they have a little bit less experience maybe at the quarterback position and some of those positions that could be the difference. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay. Oh, I wouldn't mind a crazy game. If Fresno State scores over 30 some points, then we figured something out, because we've done it in the past, but are often struggled against Wyoming to get things together. So, and I credit to their defense, but I like to see us score points. And man, if you guys are scoring points on us and on our defense, we have some injuries on our defense, but boy, I'm not going to feel good again. So don't tell me that, Isaac. But it's going to be a fun game. Do you think that the cold comes into play at all, or not? Because Caleb talked about it's going to be a little bit colder than what we're used to, but nothing like what you guys over there are used to.
No, I don't think it'll be much. I mean, if you're playing football in weather that's above freezing, you're pretty much, you're running around, you're not even feeling it. Even above, like, I've gone to games at Maverick with, in the teens, in the 0 degrees. So it's and covered in snow. So this is going to be nothing compared to a typical Logan, Utah late fall. I think it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful night. I've got a couple friends that one of my friends that's a BYU alum is coming to the game with me on Friday. So I'm excited to kind of convert him a little by little to becoming an Aggie fan. So it's going to be a beautiful night. It's not going to be bad at all. The players aren't even going to be able to tell that they're not playing somewhere else. They're not even going to feel it.
Good.
So Isaac, if there's any Fresno State fans that are making the trip up to Logan, do you have any recommendations of places they need to see or shop or dine?
Yeah, so really underrated golf in Cache Valley. Like Birch Creek Golf Course is a great place to golf if they want to golf while they're here. But there's also beautiful leaves, beautiful scenery. Go up Logan Canyon, go to the Wind Caves Trail, even just drive Logan Canyon, Sardine Canyons between Cache Valley and Salt Lake. If they're flying in, they're gonna see beautiful scenery while they're here. It is a beautiful time of year right now, so that is gonna be an amazing experience if they've never been here. But yeah, for sure. I would say, Logan's Heroes is a classic, like, sandwich spot. It's kind of like if you're going to Fresno, you got to go to the Doghouse. If you're going to certain places, it's just one of those places that you should hit if you come to Logan. There's also like Tandoori Oven, which is Indian food. There's some other good places, and really some awesome. Sabores is another restaurant that's awesome right by the mall. So there's some awesome restaurants. It's really underrated kind of food scene in Logan, which you wouldn't think. I mean, there's definitely a lot of chains and stuff too. It's kind of a college town as far as that goes, but some awesome local places that you definitely want to eat somewhere local while you're here, and also see the scenery, maybe play some golf or do some fishing or whatever. There's awesome things to do.
Oh man, that sounds like a blast. It's my kind of place. I will say, we went to Zion a couple of years ago, and I did not expect this at all. Best Thai food I have had, and we have really good Thai food in Fresno.
Yeah.
The heck, it's going in Utah, but yeah, it was very good Thai food.
Yeah, I think the best Thai food I've ever had, and maybe there's some like weird correlation to this, but it's always somewhere like Zion, like just outside of Zion National Park, or there's one in Jackson, Wyoming that like is amazing. Like I'll put it up there with any restaurant anywhere. There's one in like Idaho, in the middle of Idaho, it's awesome. for some reason, Thai food is like, that's how it is. I don't know what it is about Thai food.
I'll take it. I love Thai food, so
Hey,
I'll eat any Thai food. This one in particular is very good. So I believe you when you say there's a good, like, underrated food scene over there. I got 2 more ads for you, and then I want to know a couple things about the university, and we'll see if you can answer them. First, I got to tell you guys about the Vine Church in Fresno. Vine Church in Fresno is located on Shaw, just west of Grantland. My wife and I attend there. We have found a great support group, a great place to strengthen our community. And if you're looking for those things, come on out to the Vine Church. We start on Sunday at 10 a.m. Also, if you're looking for a small group, come on out and join us. That's Sunday, 10 a.m. Let me know when you're coming. I'll be sure to meet you there. And we also have potlucks once a month. So if you just want to come once a month and join us for service and potluck, we're more than happy. We're going to have to find a Thai food, someone that does good Thai food out there for the potluck. And last but not least, Flora Flower Co. Make sure Flora Flower Co. is a local flower shop here in Fresno who supports local growers. And if you're looking for a bouquet for your loved ones, you can find them on Shepherd and Willow on Monday through Saturday between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. They also have a florist in-house that will help you create something special. They also have gifts there. So if you're looking for gifts for your loved ones, for young kids, babies, they have it there. Use code Fresno15 at checkout for 15% off. And when I say checkout, that's online and in the store. Fresno15 for 15% off. They also have subscriptions that come with free delivery. All right, Isaac. I got to know a couple things.
I feel guilty I didn't mention Aggie ice cream. I kind of mentioned it before, but Aggie ice cream is like top thing on your list. If you come to Logan, you have to go to Aggie ice cream. Sorry, keep going.
Okay. Aggie ice cream. No, that's good. I'm a big ice cream fan.
Is that like official? Is that like made by the university or?
Yeah. So we are. That is the official. Like, so Utah State is started as an agricultural school. We have our own dairy where they milk the cows. They take the dairy, they take the milk and the cream and make Aggie ice cream out of it.
I love it. I think maybe they have this already, but so Fresno State has that and they make their own ice cream. They have a creamery there like you guys. Mm-hmm. They should do a national championship competition. And I will volunteer as tribute to be the taste tester.
Yeah, I think I looked it up once. I think Washington State has a pretty good creamery. Fresno State, I didn't try Fresno State's ice cream, I don't think, when I was there. I should have, though. UConn has a creamery, and I think Wisconsin, some of those schools. So those are kind of we're in that top tier of university ice cream for sure.
I love it.
Top, because some people they try to bring this weak BYU creamery is the best, and they are they've never even tried Aggie ice cream.
I'll get on that bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys agree.
Oh yeah, no, BYU, not good ice cream. Yeah,
they do not know ice cream.
So this is kind of leads into my question: is who does Utah State dislike the most? And then I also want to ask, who does Isaac of AggieUp dislike the most? I have a guess, but let me know.
Oh man, well, so let me start with this. When I was getting on, and listening to you guys and everything, like you mentioned, and thinking about how I was going to be on your show, we kind of have a good rivalry with most of the Mountain West schools. Boise State, Utah State hasn't beat a lot in football. We have one good memory of a blowout win against Boise State, a lot of disappointments. But at the same time, when you win a Mountain West championship, it's like beating Boise State too, So it's So I don't know that I would say Boise State is up there as far as hated, because like I say, they're just always looked at as like they're automatic. Everyone thinks automatically Boise State is the Mountain West Conference football champion until they're not, right? And it's like, I don't know. So that they're up there. BYU's up there for sure, as far as hated. But other than that, I think most of the teams like Wyoming, Fresno, even Boise, Nevada, some of those schools in football and basketball are pretty good rivals. Even like New Mexico and basketball and Air Force and football is kind of turning into a little bit of a rivalry. So obviously, San Diego State you can throw in there. So I think for the most part, I don't know if I think Aggie fans hate San Diego State to a certain extent.
Really?
Maybe in basketball and Boise in football, I would say would be the top hated, and then just BYU in general.
I was looking at the overall record when it comes to Fresno State versus Utah State.
Yeah.
And it's 18 for Fresno State, 13 to Utah State. So it's pretty close. It's not, and there's also a tie in there. I don't know how that happened, but anyways, I'd say you're right. You could say there's a little bit of a rivalry going on. 18-13 record against Utah State. So
the game I was in person, I was on the field for that game-winning field goal by Dominic Eberle a couple years ago. So that was a crazy finish for sure, and one of those kind of fun memories that I have. And Fresno in general is a fun place to go see a game. So if I'm never going to turn down the chance to come back to Fresno and eat some Mexican food and a tri-tip sandwich and maybe even try Fresno State's ice cream.
Well, good. Hopefully.
What was that?
I'll go to the winery that you guys are talking about, the grape crushing. That sounds amazing. That's awesome.
It's fun. It cleans your toes. If you have fungus, it cleans it right up.
I grow my own grapes here in Utah, so I'm all about the grape juice, the grapes, all that. That's awesome.
Go ahead, Caleb.
I lost my train of thought. So take it away.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else. Well, actually, I do. I want to know about your special teams. Jumping back into football, we didn't touch on special teams.
Yep.
How is the Aggie special teams unit?
So, Colorado State took out our punter. Stephen Cottonley was one of the top punters in the conference. Really, he's been around 4 or 5 years. He's been a great punter. Colorado State was trying to block the punt and just broke his ankle. Dove right into him and broke his ankle. So he's out for the rest of the season. As Cooper Legas said on the post game, he said even though his leg was on backwards, he was still in good spirits, and like pumping up the crowd and stuff. He's a great kid. So that's a good question. We got a punter, Marks, who has punted once. So it wasn't a bad punt. It was a pretty good punt, but so he's a freshman, backup punter coming in. I think kicker was a little bit of an interesting off-season, trying to figure out if they were going to take. I think they tried to get kind of a more established, experienced kicker in the transfer portal, and it just didn't really work out. So the guy from last year and this year too, he's been on the team. Last year he only did kickoffs. And so really this year we're seeing what he can do kicking, which hasn't been, I wouldn't say it's been bad per se, but he's missed a few field goals. I don't think it's kind of one of the strengths of Utah State. So I would say special teams has been up and down as everything else has been at times. Has looked great at times. The return, kick return, punt return has looked great at times. Kicking and punting has looked great, but it's also looked bad at times. So I think special teams is one of those things that that would be one of those things that could be a pivot point or a problem on Friday for Utah State.
I didn't know that, and I am very interested now, and I should say very intrigued to watch the special teams unit now and see how this goes. Boy, this is gonna be exciting.
I would say the fans weren't too happy with Colorado State, and the Aggie players weren't too happy with Colorado State's players, especially number 81. I was joking on Twitter that instead of death threats, he should get what he deserves and just be thrown out of the rest of the games, the rest of the season, and just be suspended because that's what he deserves pretty much after knocking a guy out in his senior season. He should have to sit out the rest of the season too. But yeah, there was a lot of boos. There was a lot of trash talk from the student section to number 81, and I guess we can kind of bond with Neon Dion and Prime Time as far as hating Colorado State. So that's not bad.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it seems like both sides here have some injuries that they're going to be fighting through, and just is going to depend on how deep and how well coached the teams are. So I think it should be a really, really fun matchup on Friday night.
Isaac, where can everybody find you?
Most of what I've been doing is just on X or Twitter or whatever we call it these days. So I haven't been doing as much of the articles and podcasts and media and stuff as I have in the past. But there's some awesome Aggie coverage. If you look up the AggieUp or True Blue Aggie News, which is Brian Phillips on Twitter. So AggieUp on Twitter, AggieUp on Twitter, and Brian Phillips on Twitter is your best Aggie stuff that you need to follow. They also have websites and podcasts and different things you can look up as well. But those are kind of the three places I would send somebody if you're a Fresno State fan looking to kind of get a pulse on Utah State. I would definitely point you in that direction. I appreciate people looking at whatever on Twitter, but I know that I'm not the only best source either. So there's other great resources.
Oh, that's very nice of you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Everybody go, if you want Utah State coverage, check them out. Isaac, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to talk with us. And best of luck after this week. How's that?
Sounds good. Hopefully we'll be talking again soon, and hopefully we both have some good wins the rest of the year.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Take care, and good luck the rest of the season, man.
Okay.
Thanks, Isaac.